It was a wicked and wild wind, blew down the doors to let me in, shattered windows and the sound of drums. People couldn't believe what I'd become. Revolutionaries wait for my head on a silver plate, just a puppet on a lonely string. Ah, who would ever want to be king? I hear Jerusalem bells a ringing, Roman cavalry choirs a singing. Be my mirror, my sword, and my shield, my missionaries in the foreign field. And for some reason I can't explain, I know St. Peter won't call my name, never an honest word. But that was when I ruled the world. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Unrelenting Alchemist. Our topic for today is about Arjuna the Relentless. No doors untouched, no enemies left standing, the warrior unleashed. Because you see, in every age, there is a hero who rises, not for the sake of peace, but for the sake of reckoning. When righteousness calls out, not for mercy, but ferocity, the universe does not send a diplomat. It sends a weapon. In this era, it sent Arjuna, not as a supplicant, not as a savior, but as a sovereign fury, an incarnation of walking Dharma, with fire in his blood and justice in his grip. When Arjuna kicks down the door, he doesn't ask many questions. He doesn't negotiate. Karma has already decided. He delivers consequences. There is no room for mercy. There is no room for surrender. There is only his intended purpose, his destiny, as he is to deliver the wrath of the gods. The enemies had fortified themselves in their grand citadels, armed with the pride of generations and some illusion of invincibility. In their egos, they carved out their doctrines into stone, and they buried their cowardice behind marble walls. They were the ones who didn't want to work hard, but they wanted all the spoils, and they told themselves that fate was on their side. But fate was not with them, because you see, there isn't an easy way to get to the riches. Some way or another, you stepped on someone else, and you didn't show much mercy for them. So Arjuna did not knock. His war cry silenced the trembling stars, and he shattered the first gate with the force of his celestial wrath. The door did not creak open, it exploded into splinters, as if reality itself had grown tired of hiding and harboring cowards. Inside, the first defenders, they rushed to meet him. These were elite warriors, but they knew what was up ahead as they were cloaked in fear and illusion. Their armor was made of gold, and their confidence was built on corruption. But gold does not stop arrows blessed by the gods, and corruption dissolves in the presence of divine purpose. You see, Arjuna did not blink. His arrows flew like judgments, each one naming its target before it struck. Heads turned to ash, shields split, prayers were whispered, but no relief ever came. Arjuna was the storm, and in the eye of his wrath there was no room for redemption. Justice had already been decided. These were not soldiers in his eyes. These were tyrants. These were tormentors. These were pretenders of valor. These were cowards. And so Arjuna offered no terms. The hall of liars was reduced to silence. With every level of the enemy's fortress in the Tower of Screams, the resistance grew more desperate. Archers fired from every angle, traps lined stone. Poisoned whispers tried to sway him. Show mercy, they begged. Spare the innocents, as they called out to Arjuna. But Arjuna's heart was a crucible, and he was purified of illusion. The innocent had already bled. The merciless had already built these towers on stolen screams, and now their time was up. He kicked in the door, to the upper tower and let fly a storm of arrows, each one a silent scream for the oppressed, each one a holy reckoning. Because you see, he was not here to take them back to face justice in the courtroom. He was here to deliver the sentence and execution. When he reached the summit, the enemy general stood there trembling, barely even able to raise his sword. Arjuna looked him in the eye and asked a single question. Let me ask you a question. Did you ever let them surrender? The general shook his head no. Subsequently, neither did Arjuna. From the first citadel, word spread like a wildfire. Arjuna the archer is coming. The gates mean nothing to him. Cities reinforced their walls. Kings sent emissaries begging for truce. Priests called it a holy war, and they pleaded with him to listen to the gods. But this was not war. This was divine justice. And the gods had already indicated to Arjuna that there would be no off switch. Arjuna marched into every city, every outpost, every throne room where darkness had taken root. And with every door he kicked in, the storm behind him grew. His name became a curse in the tongues of the enemy, and a prayer in the hearts of the oppressed, waiting for Arjuna to come save them. In the Valley of Fire, the last coalition waited. Thousands of elite warriors from 7 kingdoms. They had war elephants, siege weapons, sorcerers even. Their drums echoed through the canyons. Some of them wet their pants where they stood. Arjuna stood alone before them, bathed in golden sunlight, and the wind lifted his crimson sash. And then he moved. Before the drums could complete their second beat, arrows had turned the horizon into a rain of flame. The elephants turned and fled. The kings dropped to their knees, but Arjuna did not relent. He did not stop. He was not here for surrender. The only thing he came to do was dole out endings. And so the valley fell silent. And so, at the point at which Arjuna had reached the final citadel, there was beyond the valley the last door. It was massive. It was adorned with ancestral relics. It was guarded by the most ancient and cunning of warriors, those who had evaded death for centuries. They had sold out nations. They hid behind illusions. They had no shame for the horrors that they had inflicted upon the innocents. And they thought maybe Arjuna would hesitate, that he would take them captive, that he would take them to their dungeons. But he did not come to hesitate. He kicked in the final doors with such force that the sky cracked. The gods themselves watched from above, silent and proud. Even Krishna, eternal guide and charioteer, stood still, knowing that in this moment, Arjuna was not the student. He was the final answer. Steel clashed. Walls wept. Shadows screamed. Each sword swing was prophecy. Each step by Arjuna rewrote fate. The last of the enemy, their king, their high priest, and their butcher, all fell beneath the weight of their own sins. And Arjuna stood, bow in one hand, sword in the other, the last door behind him turning to rubble. Because you see, there would be no survivors and there would be no surrenders. Why did Arjuna leave none alive? Because evil does not negotiate. It infects. It deceives. It repents only when caught. To leave survivors is to plant seeds for the next tyranny. For in this garden of seeds that did not deserve to be buried, Arjuna knew the price of unfinished wars. He had seen the blood of innocents turn to ink on scrolls of treaties that meant nothing and that were violated at every turn. He knew that forgiveness without accountability is just permission to repeat. And so, he had to deliver the message of deterrence. He delivered the final answer with unflinching certainty. No survivors, no surrenders. Leave none alive. This was not a punishment. He was fulfilling a role. He was there to end things, and the gods had given him their approval. This was the cleansing of the earth, because after the last enemy fell, the earth sighed, the winds grew calm, the rivers whispered Arjuna's name with gratitude, children played without fear, mothers sang again, priests spoke of Dharma, not as a forgotten principle, but as a living force. Arjuna did not stay to receive praise. He walked through the ruins, bow lowered, sword sheathed, and he vanished into the horizon. He did not need a hero's welcome. He did not need a parade in his honor. He did not need to be remembered. He only needed to be believed. Because the lesson of relentlessness was a powerful lesson. Arjuna's tale is not for the faint-hearted. It's not for those who wish to bargain with evil or to reason with cruelty. It is for those who understand that justice arrives wearing armor and demands no quarter. Because, trust me, evil will say the right things at the right time. Arjuna was not cruel. Arjuna was a necessary solution. When darkness mocks the light, when tyrants smile behind locked doors, when history repeats its horrors because no one had the will to finish the job, remember Arjuna, the one who kicked in every door, the one who laid every enemy to waste, the one who whispered to the silence of the aftermath, and whisper he did. So be it. Now, let Dharma reign. And so, when you have the toxic people in your life that you've had enough of, there are no second chances. Be like Arjuna. Finish them. Thank you for joining me in this sacred hour. This has been the Unrelenting Alchemist. Until next time, walk wisely, walk bravely, and when the dark calls, answer it not with fear, answer it with a bow on fire. Be like Arjuna. And if I don't see you, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I love you.